Are we rolling still?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we've been rolling
First
like
10 minutes
the
is
first
gonna be.
10 minutes is us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The
No,
real.
like
Talking
I
about
said-
Star Wars. Just kidding.
No, like I said, uncensored, unscripted, but welcome. New Monday, new
Welcome
session.
back.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
We had our guest number 10 last week, which was amazing.
KJ.
KJ, you're dope. And then now today, for me, this is a little overwhelming because in the dance community, if you don't know this man right next to me, then that's really disappointing because like he said earlier, his nickname is Yoda. I like to call him the godfather of the community because he knows everyone and takes care of everyone. But we have Mr. Arnel Calvario in the building. Yo, thank you. Like I said, I can't, like, it is a little overwhelming because, like, you've literally taken care of me, like, behind the scenes and everything. So
Well, I mean, it's definitely a blessing to be a part of your journey.
thank you.
I mean, obviously, I love your parents.
They're over there.
Your whole family's been a part of this journey. I mean, I've known you since you were 8, 9 years old.
Crazy.
OG class of Mighty Shock LA.
LA 09. Oh my God.
And actually a big part of your whole family is such a big part of those youth the programs, growing because that was the original year. And yeah, it's been awesome to see you bloom and within the Culture Shock organizations and also outside of it. Mm-hmm. And then of course we stole you back for Roy Meets World.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then we've been connected all that time.
Yeah. And I always consider you were my mentor as always. And you were actually the first person that knew about my idea for this.
Yes, over lunch.
Really?
Yeah. So remember I told you I had a little breakup, a little downhill spiral.
Wait, you had a break?
Yeah. We talk about it all the time. We had a spiral at the end of last year, and then you were the first person I wanted to reach out to have lunch and catch up and get some advice, about life in general. And then you were the first, and then I brought this idea up, and you said just go for it.
I said you have to do it.
Yeah.
Because there are times in your life where, so there are passion projects, things that we're just excited about and we got to try, you learn from your, mistakes and your triumphs. And then there are things that are like your purpose projects, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of more aligned with who your soul is today.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a purpose project, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This is something that you just felt like you had an idea, you found the right collaborator, the right kind of like dream team to kind of make it come to life organically.
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
And so those are the things I asked you, like, do you really want to do it? Do you have a team around you?
Yeah.
All of those check marks,
we're ticking.
check boxes were checked. So you have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to try, and then you'll know whether it's the right path.
And then knowing with your approval and you saying just do it, I was like, okay. If Mr. Arnel come on, I have to do it. So, and then it was always a goal for you to come on. Be a guest, so always had you in mind. But we first obviously, I don't know that much history about like how you started dance officially. So like, we'll go into like how you founded Cabo Modern.
What's your origin story?
But like the origin story of Mr. Yoda right here.
Well, the funny thing is, there's and I really do believe in full circle moments. So the first time I loved dance was when I saw a guy and a girl dancing on Soul Train.
Wow.
And because with my grandparents, the 3 things we watched were Soul Train, I Love Lucy, and Laker games. It was on all constant rotation. That was like our household. That was what's on TV almost every day. And it turns out later on that the guy and girl that I was watching was Demita Joe and Don Campbell, who would be 2 direct like inspirations and like role models for me later on in my dance. But I loved what they were doing. And so I would go to my room and I would also go to my garage kind of like this. And I would just have a dance party by myself, right?
You have your own garage session.
Yeah, my own garage session. What? So that was it in the beginning. It was freedom. It was a place, like a safe place for myself. Yeah. But I was really shy and I didn't really find my voice till way later. So I only danced by myself. Like I would see it on TV. I would do it by myself. And then I started, like when I would ride my bike to the park, I would see some OGs, popping, locking, breaking. And I was like, oh, I want to learn that. And that was the beauty of the 80s, 90s was that it wasn't in the studios, it was in the streets.
Yeah.
It was at the parks.
The real, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you had to find an OG that was willing to teach you. And then when you learn from them, then you show them respect.
Yeah.
And you always show gratitude. And that was like just the code. And I related to that as a Filipino American. That's in our culture. You know, elders that share with you, you show respect and gratitude, right? And I learned Filipino cultural dancing also because my auntie LV, may she rest in peace, was one of the choreographers for one of the most prolific Filipino cultural dance companies called Kaimanan ng Lahi. That was kind of based in the UCLA area, but all the cousins, we weren't asked, we were expected to do we were her youth troupe. She would test out material on us, and then she would give it to the adult group. You know what I mean? So I learned how to do formations, how to work in a group through cultural dancing.
Gotcha.
But then the energy and the connection and the rawness, and even the respect for culture started from the people in the parks, you know, in Harbor City, Carson, Wilmington, all of that area, wherever I could ride my bike to.
Wow.
And one of my first public things I went to was Radiotron.
Radiotron.
Yeah, Radiotron is one of the most renowned, famous battles in LA.
Really?
And I wasn't old enough to go. But hey, I was there.
You made it.
Snuck in.
Yeah, you have to.
And just feeling the vibe of I was never a battle dancer, but I loved the ciphers. I loved the exchanges.
The environment.
Yeah, and I loved how people get hyped up on each other.
For sure.
I fell in love with that at a very young age.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my origin story, is really like at the parks. Later on at the parties, you know what I mean? Learning dance that way in a very communal way. And then later on, you know, when I got to high school, it turned into, because that was the 90s now.
Yeah.
And that was party dancing and routines. And that was also the era of MTV and backup dancers. And, you know, everything I saw MC Hammer's dancers doing, I wanted to do that.
Everything,
BBD, TLC, all that era, that hype, fun era. I loved it. So I love the freedom of ciphers and the energy and rawness of battles.
Just, like you said, just the freedom of it too, like having fun.
That connection, right?
Yeah.
Was high school kind of when you felt comfortable to dance in front of other people?
Yeah, and it's so, you know, it's interesting because when I was going to the parks, it was like the Mexican and Black community to just welcome me in. You know what I mean? As the Filipinos. It was just me and one other person, you know?
Just the one
and then at the school dances, there was the best dancers were the song leaders. The song cheerleaders who dance, you know? And those girls said, "Boy, you can dance, get in here." And, you know, so I was like, let me go down the Soul Train line.
Join the party.
And, you know, I still wanted to dance in the dark, though, because I was still shy. But that was the beginning in high school, of dancing publicly. And there were talent shows, and I was in the Key Club because I was a Boy Scout, and then I did Key Club. And then, so I was always into community service. But, you know, so at the Key Club conventions, I would join the talent competition with few of my homies, and that's when I started doing I can choreograph something and then actually compete too. Yeah. And so that was fun. Yeah, but even in public eye, I never put myself in the front as a choreographer. I always put myself in the back because I think I never necessarily for myself enjoyed being in the spotlight. I enjoyed just being a part of. Yeah,
just part of the process and everything.
Yes, and having a shared goal and achieving it, and the hype of we're together and we did it together. That's always been what I enjoy the most. And then other people who always crave the spotlight, I was so happy to just stand back and give it to them because they enjoy it, right? Yeah. So the other two of our members in our crew, there's only 4 of us. 2 of them were the spotlight, and the other 2 of us were love being in the back. Yeah.
I think that really shows, though, you've been having that mentality for so long, because I feel like you, most of the time, put others before yourself. Even with me, giving advice and, helping out, being such a huge part of the community. So, you've been having that mentality in the very beginning, so totally makes sense.
I never even thought about that, but I guess so.
Just being in the spotlight, that's not your main thing, but being part of the communal and the process and the community. So in the community we really appreciate that because we need that too, for sure. But so then with knowing that's how you learned, or you were like, oh, I can like choreograph and do this? Is that why is that when Kaba Modern came about?
Yeah, because I joined the Filipino club and, right away, because I already did the cultural dances and I wanted to be a part of their culture night. But I was looking in the university space at UC Irvine. I couldn't find what I had in high school.
Like a club?
There were no hip hop clubs. There were no crews. There were no dance companies. All that was really centered at UCI was in the dance department, where the ballet, jazz, and tap dancers, which I didn't, which I respected,
For
but
sure.
I didn't see myself in that space. That's not what I grew up with. At that point, I've never even set foot in a studio.
Oh, wow.
Everything I learned was
Like,
in the streets,
in
and the parks, and the clubs.
garage.
In the garage. And then it's funny because even in high school, in the garage, like we would workshop. When we learned party dances, we would teach each other.
Yeah. You'd
And then
have
we
your
would
own class.
create our routines in the garage.
Yeah. Like the garage was the studio.
Yeah.
For you,
yeah,
for sure.
It really was. So, but in college, I wanted something. So, just created something that didn't exist and didn't know where it was going to land exactly.
Yeah.
I just knew that when I grew up, where there's a safe space where people could express themselves and also feel like they're good enough to belong.
Yeah.
I wanted that for myself. I wanted that for others like myself who craved that,
Definitely.
So I was a freshman creating this new thing. And when I had the auditions for it, all the people that showed up were juniors and seniors. I was hella intimidated.
Whoa, that's crazy. And
I only had my one homie that came with me from the door. I was like, yo, Kong, please come with me. And he, because we used to freestyle on our balcony at the dorms. And so I was like, yo, if I create this thing, will you jump on it with me? Because I needed support. And he said, yeah, anything you do, I'm there,
That's dope though, because these like much older kids were like ready to like they've been waiting for something like that to that's really cool.
Yeah, it was cool and also hella intimidating.
Yeah.
But to be really honest, though, actually hella girls audition and no boys except for audition. So it was like me and Kong, and then I picked 7 girls that were so dope. I was like, oh my God, I really want more guys on here, you know? It might be also, actually, it probably is due to like toxic masculinity at the time, stereotypes.
For sure.
Back in that time where, it wasn't celebrated that men could dance, even though hella men danced, you know what I mean? The stereotypes were still prevalent at that time.
Definitely.
But I did convince a apartment full of guys to come on board to Kaba Modern, and it was intimidating because them and a couple of the girls were like the cool kids on campus. So it was hella intimidating.
Did the guys like know how to dance, or you kind of?
Yeah, they were good.
Okay.
They were really good. And so learning to direct people that you thought were cooler than you at the time was definitely a big growth area for me to finally just like, yo, you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I credit it to my ability to do that, to the fact that I did have supportive people in Kababayan, the Filipino club, telling me, you can do it, even when I didn't believe in myself.
For sure.
But that is probably what you experience, why I'm that way for other people, because I empathize. Like by the time I met you in Culture Shock, I was that kind of leader, right? Like you can do it.
No, definitely, always the number one person, number one person for sure.
Because I knew I think my inner child needed that as a young person who didn't believe in himself, and when I got it, it unlocked possible. I mean, it helped me create Kaba Modern,
for sure.
And so I'm a big believer that if we can do that for as many people, as we can in our lifetime, who knows what we'll be creating, in terms of positive change, people believing in themselves, healing. Right?
Definitely.
So I believe in that.
No, for sure. Yeah. you and I would say you and Ricky were for sure the number one, always the number one supporters, and that's how I kind of felt when Ricky kind of made me the captain one of the last few years I was on Soul Fresh, because I was like one of the youngest on Soul Fresh.
You were. I mean, Ricky really adopted a lot of young people into his crew. He did.
But there was still all like towards the end of my career with Soul Fresh, like he created me as a captain, but they were still like older than me, so I was like I had the same feeling too. I was like how do you direct or be a captain and like when there's like older people, you know, like
Yes.
experience more things than I have. But
And you look hella young too.
that's
like
the,
forever.
I look like 12
like,
still.
Dylan,
Like,
hella
I
young
still look
forever.
Like,
that's
who's this kid telling me what to do right now?
exactly. That's how I felt. Like I didn't want them to like. I don't know. It's just like very intimidating for sure. But then with you and Ricky saying no, like you can do it, like you have it, like it really like helped me push, and then it helped me push to be a better leader for Baneful Brew when we created that too. So then that, and then
I remember that.
you know, and then now being like a director, and then even like creating small things, like even like this. So
Yeah,
it helps a lot in the long run.
I feel like we all need that, right? Like we're blessed if we have like an amazing family,
Definitely.
right? And then when you have people in your corner telling you they believe in you,
sure.
and I mean, or they'll support you through your ups and downs.
For sure.
That helps us unlock our full potential.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think that's missing a lot in the dance community?
I do think that. Yeah, I think. I mean, we've gone up and down, but I feel like there are eras where I feel like leaders truly, genuinely want to be leaders.
Yeah.
And dance educators truly want to teach.
Yeah.
But then I think we got, and it's kind of near the advent of social media in 2005, where I feel like everything got quicker, and so people started, instead of valuing people, people started valuing product over people. You know what I mean? And I feel like we went through the era of faster, now, this, I must be this tomorrow, you know what I mean? I must skip foundation and just be the most amazing dancer on a video.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? But I think we're returning. You know, I feel like the pandemic was hard, but I think it opened our eyes to the importance of journey, the importance of the growth mindset, of being humble, of having purpose. Also the value of human connection and remembering of treating people as human beings, you know what I mean? And also seeing people for the totality of who they are, right? So we're dancers, but we're more than just dancers.
Definitely.
We're human beings with all these amazing other intersectional identities that make us amazing. And so why can't dance teams, before you learn a single 8 count of choreography, spend the first couple of rehearsals just getting to know who's actually on your quote unquote fam. Right? People are using that word fam when it's not really a fam.
Exactly.
If everyone on your team are more seen as dots in your formations and people in your concept videos versus like, these are people I love, human beings I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They chose my organization or my group or my crew or my project to be a part of. So I should probably get to know them as people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then I think if we got to know people as people, then they will dance better because there's a genuine organic connection.
For sure.
Right? I feel like we lost that over a certain amount of time.
I think so too. And I think we briefly talked about it with Danielle's episode is like
Yes. I love Danielle.
Oh my God.
Because she's first of all, she's always willing to learn. She has an amazing growth mindset. Always has been. She works hella hard. But she's a voice for change.
No, for sure. So we talked about like the that's one thing I missed for sure in the beginning when I started with Culture Shock. Like Culture Shock, like my time was like a family. Like when for me was like a family. Like literally like. Even outside of practice, like I would hang out, go to dinner.
Because we planned those things,
yeah, definitely. And then even with Soul Fresh too, in the beginning, it's like we knew like it was a fam. And then like throughout the years, like even at shows like at Vi, like there's just like you can tell like who's a fam and who's not. Like while they're performing. So that's why like we talked about it with Danielle and like.
And some people are meant to be project leaders. Yeah. Like if you're not really invested in developing people, not just as dancers, but as human beings, you know, braving it into this crazy world, then you probably shouldn't have a dance company. Probably shouldn't have a dance crew. You know what I mean? Just have a project. Have short-term things that are straightforward. This is for the product. For sure. This is for this video. This is for this whatever. And that's fine. Like, call it what it is. But if you're having a dance company or you're having a dance crew or some like a dance fam or whatever, that means that you're dedicated to creating a safe space where people can feel like they can be the totality of who they are. That you're invested in every single person's growth. that you're invested in who they are as human beings, not just in the studio, but outside of rehearsal, right? Yeah. And that you have a vision for them beyond being a product. You have a vision for them as if they are your family, being supported, loved, embraced as a human being, feeling that they can be exactly who they are, and that they're going to grow. You also know what their goals are.
Yeah.
Right? Remember in Mighty Shock, we'd have those evals, and we'd be like, what are your goals?
We had journals. Like, we would have to, every Sunday, we had our journal. Like, we literally said what we wanted, our goals for this rehearsal, like, everything. Yeah. And that's why I bring up Danielle's, because I haven't felt like that in team environment in a long time until I did Vimo, which I know it was a project based, like we only did a couple performances, but like she treated it as like it was her company again, like we had rehearsals every week. Like I haven't felt that in a while, so that's why I respect Danielle even more after like being in those rehearsals. So
I feel like Danielle and I like connect because I love her so much, because she reminds me. So when I took over Culture Shock LA in 2003, I saw what was missing, and I was like, we fucking have to create that. What's missing, because that's why we did benefit shows, right? We talked about social issues through dance, and then we donated money to charities.
Yes,
nonprofit.
I'm assuming that was not done a lot.
That wasn't done at all.
That's why Culture Shock was a huge part of the community for so long, because we actually like did shit like that mattered.
I wanted to be like, okay, you can do battles, you can do industry, and you can do competitions. Those are all cool. But you can also do this if you want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You can also do after school programs. You can run youth programs where we really actually care about the kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We went to schools and we like taught them dance, like kids. Like that.
We did outreach,
everything.
And it was really cool as we don't just teach the kids, we allow the kids to kind of learn on their own through certain, like projects that they have to do.
Definitely. Performances.
So what Danielle's doing with Vimo reminds me of that spark I had when I wanted to do these new things with Culture Shock LA. Where we're looking into the community. Because at that time, when I took over Culture Shock LA, there were 3 islands of dance. There was the dance industry.
Yep.
There was the underground battle community, because really like a lot of the battle community was relegated for many reasons, including systemic racism, to the underground. And then we had this competition exhibition community.
He knows
right?
all about that now, because
all the
interviews. Had so many dancers on. He knows the.
They were very
expert.
Right. Those were 3 islands, and that's like the mid 2000s, really separate.
Yeah.
But Culture Shock dancers were all those things.
Everything.
They existed in all 3, so we were like the physical connection.
We were the hub.
The hub.
Yeah.
So then that's why we created H4, like a dance summit. Where you had industry choreographers come in, but you also had OGs come in.
Like locking,
we had discussion panels. It was all about appreciating the pioneers, appreciating the people, the culture, the music, the history. And the kids knew it. Like, everyone that's come through Culture Shock, Mighty Shock, Mini Shock,
I love H4.
Shock, they all know history.
Yeah.
And so all these things that we're crying out for during the pandemic, we need to appreciate history. We need to, Black Lives Matters. So it's been important, beyond this recent, it's been important.
I exactly said that.
Yeah.
One of the episodes, like people like our like maybe younger, like thinks this is like brand new or whatever, but it's been like, this
has been a problem.
Yeah.
Homophobia, queerphobia, that's been a problem too. That's why in Culture Shock, we created all of these things like H4, benefit shows, after school programs, youth programs. We developed leaders. And so I love what Danielle's doing with Vimo and everything on her own too, just preaching and calling for change, because this generation needs to hear, not just from my generation, needs to hear from you, your generation, Danielle, people who, who are on the right path.
Definitely. No, and I think that's a lot of people, like, especially in the industry, like, because I am well versed in the dance world because of Culture Shock.
You're like in all 3 worlds.
All 3 worlds, but like a lot of people from the industry, like I'll do locking or like I know my history and stuff, and they're like, "What the?" Like they're like confused. And I'm like, "That's why you gotta go Culture Shock." And then because of history, that's because of you too, because you have your workshop that you do.
Roots Before Branches.
Roots Before Branches. I was telling him about it, where you go around a lot of. Even like conventions or like just schools and stuff where you teach the history of hip hop.
Yeah, it's like because I'm older.
What? You're not older.
I was born. Actually, I was.
You're
born,
not 25 years old?
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
I am, but Benjamin Button skills.
Yeah, there it is.
No. But because I was actually born the same year as hip hop. So in 1973.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
my entire childhood, from elementary all the way up, I saw like the birth of so many brilliant dance art forms, like breaking, locking, popping, boogaloo, whacking, house, all of these things. Yeah. Some on the East Coast, some were on the West Coast. Yep. So I just collecting stories from brilliant people like Don Campbell, Damita Joe, Boogaloo Sam, Victor Manuel, who created punking, whacking.
Yes.
Just talking to these, I felt like, wow, like it's not being taught anywhere. It's not in the history books. It's not things like queer and BIPOC stories aren't captured enough.
Yeah.
And they're definitely not centered in universities either. Right. So in dance programs, you most often won't hear the history of whacking or the history of Vogue like you should.
Yeah,
right?
It's needed.
So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to collect all the stories, put it in a document, and start teaching it to teams in the community. And so I just started doing that. And then some teams like Choreo Cookies and GRV and, of course, Coach Chuck and Cabo Modern, they just started making it part of their training. Every year they're going to do Roots Before Branches because we need to learn the history and heritage and the people and the music that birthed all of these dance art forms so that when you choreograph, because all choreography is made up of building blocks of different dance art forms.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And each person's style is different because of the different
things
ones
they pull from.
Right? Someone might pull from crump, house, and hip hop, put it together, and that's their style of choreography, right?
And they should know the history of those styles.
But the generation after you, really, I felt like they skipped a choreography.
I think so, yeah.
And they don't know what the building blocks are.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, how do I become a better dancer? I'm like, think about the choreography you love and then learn about the building blocks that those choreographies are built off of and train in those dance art forms for a long time.
Really train under that, not just one class or
not just choreography classes are amazing. I mean, I think there's such value in them, but once you know what choreography you like go back and find out what it's built from so that you have a foundation. And the art forms that you select need to be who you are as a human being. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of times when I see dancers burn out or they don't look like what they enjoy what they're doing, it's because they're doing choreography that is thrown at them versus being able to create choreography that is them. Right? And I think when people think about becoming a better dancer, I think it starts with knowing which art forms are in your soul. Yeah. At every step of your different chapters of your journey and studying those art forms, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And
it's kind of finding your voice in it. Like you said,
finding out what you like.
Yeah, exactly. And what really fits you personality wise and have fun with it.
And I think if people are lost, they don't know what art forms do I like, you can actually start with the music. What music do you like?
Exactly.
Right? And then you can find, what art forms were born from which of those musics.
Definitely,
you know what I mean? And then you learn, what was the intent? Because some art forms are created from struggle, some are from celebration, some are from freedom. So you can find art forms that really are the combination that are you. And youth leaders, especially, I've been preaching it a lot lately. Instead of just throwing choreography on your youth dancers, get to know them first and then pick the art forms that are them so that you can really grow them as human beings who enjoy dancing.
Hey, you hear that, leaders? You got that list.
Two-step plan.
Two-step plan with Mr. Arnel.
Arnel's two-step plan.
Come on. I know he's got more steps. But those are the first two. Very important, and I definitely agree with that.
I hope we see that change. Yeah. Because more often than none, I feel like most coaches and choreographers and dance team leaders, they just throw things on their kids.
So what do you think, with that being said, what do you think is the next step for that to happen? What do you see happening, or what do you think that needs to happen? More classes like that?
Well, it's so interesting because, I was focusing a lot for, 12 years on Roots Before Branches. Just maybe if I expose them to history and videos and pioneers and people's testimonials, they'll have a spark.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, you know what? I think I need to focus on leaders now. That's why I created my program, Leadership Tools for the Dance Leader.
Nice.
I created during the pandemic, actually, because this program was developed like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But I just get so caught up and busy from this to that, that it's always been my purpose project on the shelf. Yeah. But when the pandemic hit, I'm like, oh, damn, I guess I'm not traveling to teach. I'm not traveling to judge dance competitions or events. I'm not, going out to these communities anymore.
It's time.
It's time to take it out. And because I really felt like, wow, leaders often are out there creating things, but they don't have support themselves, or they don't have mentorship themselves, or they don't have camaraderie with other leaders.
Yeah.
So I was like, why don't I create a 5-week program for dance leaders that focuses, one, on mission statement and identity development.
Awesome.
Needed. Effective communication.
Needed.
Managing group dynamics.
That's a good one.
Then, of course, Roots Before Branches. History and heritage of dance. And then the last one, and the most important, I think, of all, is self-care.
You know what's great about that? I don't think that's dance specific.
That's true.
Yeah, that all of those things are just like leadership for arts or just leadership.
Yeah. In general.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just did it with I don't know if this is going to fly, I'll just try it.
Yeah.
And I tried it during the pandemic. It was through Zoom. And I created this whole PowerPoint and handouts and just everything that I wish I had. I wish someone gave me. A lot of things I learned from my own mistakes and also from things I learned from leaders I look up to.
Wow.
And then I created it, and now here we are. At this point, I've reached like 287 leaders from 36 countries all over the world. Wow. So what that means...
Legend. I'm telling you, this man in this building is a legend, and it's crazy. It's beautiful.
What it means to me is that the leaders really need support.
Definitely.
But it also gave me hope, because during a time that I felt so hopeless, from everything going on, all the movements coming out with... Black Lives Matter, just queer phobia, Asian hate, all of these things coming out. You feel discouraged, you start to lose hope. But meeting these leaders, supporting them, hearing their ideas for change in their parts of the world, also sparked hope in myself. And I learned, as much as I'm trying to share, in any journey where you're teaching, you're always going to also learn, right? If you do it correctly.
Definitely.
Right? Because you're a lifelong learner in every situation,
right?
So even though you intend on sharing and giving, there's always receiving when it's with good intention,
Definitely.
So this program ended up being probably one of, besides Culture Shock LA and some of Haba Modern and Kunja stuff, definitely one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire dance experience up to this point. Because it's a time that I really felt like this is not a passion project. This is a purpose. This is aligned with.
Definitely.
I felt like I was prepared for this moment, and I'm still learning too.
No, 100%.
That's a lot of people to bring together.
But I think you're the perfect. I think you're the perfect person. I don't think anyone else could do what you're doing right now. For me.
I definitely feel like I'm in my lane for that program.
Definitely.
And then there are other people like Sora, right? Sora Yang. Like her program was so dope.
Yep.
Sean Evaristo had one of the most amazing human beings. Had an amazing program too.
We're trying to get Sean on here too. Sean
will come.
I know.
Sean will
come,
definitely
please.
come. But yeah, when you have other people, even ladies of hip hop, Jackie and Lee with Versa Styles, when you have all these like amazing people doing things, building change, it's like, I'm gonna do this too.
Yeah, it's a big motivation
because
for sure.
They're still going, they're doing amazing things. Then I can still try.
Yeah,
and we all support each other too. So
of course, that's the thing. Where it's like a whole family. That's what a big thing. I always tell Mo is like that's the difference between community for sure and industry, because I've been in both, but like community is very like, we know it's like such a small world, like with that, like, everyone, and we love to support, like that's how in the back in the day, that's how we were taught, raised in the community.
Yeah, because you're building in spaces that don't exist, right?
Exactly.
So like, all right, the dance studios aren't gonna let us rehearse at UCI because we're not in the respected part of the dance program. So we're gonna practice in the parking lot.
Exactly.
We're gonna practice behind the building.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're gonna bring our own speakers.
Yeah, we're gonna use the car speakers sometimes.
Yeah, we're gonna be ready to move.
Yeah,
if security comes.
Exactly.
And that's also the way it was at the parks.
Yeah.
So it's all really connected, right? Like if the world doesn't value marginalized people, then who are you going to depend on? The people themselves.
Exactly.
And we're going to create it together. But even more so now, more than ever, our eyes are open to the needed activation of community. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and that community can even be in the industry. I feel like things are growing in there as well. Also because everyone's in everything, right? Like a dancer can be in the industry, battling, and also part of an organization like Demo or Culture Shock or Versa Styles, right?
Exactly.
So I love that. I love that people are embracing the totality of who they are and finding the right combination for themselves. Yeah. But I think what is needed is people having purposeful creation. So just like I did with Cabo Modern and with leadership tools, see what's missing in the world and then just create it. Just like this podcast, right? You felt like conversations were needed, right? Definitely. So you created this. People need to have the courage to bring together the right amount of people, the right combination of people to create what's needed in the world.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, you talked about after school programs earlier, and so you're an occupational therapist as well.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big, this is like my soapbox. I feel like we grow up with expectations, right? So I grew up with, I definitely had those messages coming to me because my mom's side are all in the health field. So I had all these things like, I really hope you become a doctor. You know what I mean?
He knows all about that.
You know those things. And hey, you know what? It's well-intentioned. It's generational.
Of course.
Yeah.
And like, it's all love, right? But what I've learned over time is the key to living your purpose and being healthy and happy is finding the right combination of careers. Like some people are meant to be one career, and that's amazing. You know, some people are meant to be a lawyer and that's it. And that's amazing. But most of us are really multifaceted, right? And so for me, I did want to be a health professional. I didn't want to be a pediatrician or a surgeon. But I did become a doctor of occupational therapy because I love the biopsychosocial framework, the creative aspect of occupational therapy. So I fulfilled that with occupational therapy, but that wasn't all I was going to be. I knew that dance has always been a part of my life. And I didn't feel like eventually I really like dispelled the pressures that society puts on you to be a thing, a title, a box. And I was like, no, this is the combination. I'm going to be an occupational therapist and I'm going to be involved in dance with purpose projects. And that's going to be my career forever. And having that combination has been everything, you know. And sometimes at certain parts of your life, they were like separate, you know, like my dance life was here.
Going different ways.
This is my occupational therapy, and they're very separate. But also, in my 40s, I've also figured out the possibilities of congruence. You know, congruence is like when things come together, you know, in an aligned way. And so I've also, through Culture Shock, actually done a dance therapy program for kids with special needs because a lot of neurodivergent, like autistic children were being turned away from studios. A lot of the kids I work with were being turned away from studios because they learn differently. Or they might have noise sensitivities, you know. And I was like, these are beautiful children that deserve a chance to do everything that we have. 100%. Because they just learn different, you know? So I was like, oh, damn, that's missing too. There's not enough dance therapy where you combine occupational therapy with dance for these kids. And so I asked Allison Tanaka, another hero of mine.
Allison. I love you, Allison.
And Yoko, of course. You know, love Yoko and now Sonia. I asked him, you know, do you have a grant available for another after school program? And she said, yes, I will find you the funding
Nice.
What do you want to do?
Amazing.
And so I created after-school dance therapy program for the kids at the elementary schools that I service as an occupational therapist.
That's amazing.
This is in Long Beach, right?
This is a Long Beach Unified School District. And then we would do this dance therapy program for 6 to 10 weeks. And then they would perform a benefit show.
I remember
in the
all the
opening.
time. And Mighty Shock would perform with them sometimes. Or we would go to the school.
You would come to support the kids, and also backstage, Mighty Shock was always, and Mini Shock were always supportive with the kids, socializing with them.
I remember. I love that.
So they felt like they belonged. And it's funny, these kids, the first year, the inaugural year, I'm like, what do you want to call yourself? They want to be part of the Shock family. They're like, we're going to call ourselves Awesome Shock.
Yeah.
So that became the program, Awesome
Shock,
Shock, you know? And so we've got grant funding year after year. Not this year, but next year, I want to take it a step further.
Nice.
And I want to do a dance camp. So I want to do something after school during summer school.
Like summer camp.
Yeah, that they can do where they can learn social skills. They can feel affirmed in their own voice.
Yep.
They can learn dance, and then they can also perform something at the end of summer.
That's amazing.
Whether that's
great.
Vibe or something with Kinjas or, you know. So
I feel like I'm not doing anything with my life. When
you're
hearing
doing a lot.
But like you're such a huge inspiration. Like just hearing this and what you're doing and what your future goals is like very right now is very inspiring. So like
thank you.
So I really appreciate that.
I feel like if everyone, instead of following expectations, just had the courage and also the support, right, to just explore everything that they love or they're interested in, they would find the right combination for themselves. They'd be healthier, happier, and agents of change, you know, out there in the world. I think what we see now are so much oppression and so many people choosing expectations over themselves. And so we have a lot of illness and division in the world because people aren't living their full truths, right?
Yeah.
So we can be changed through conversation, through connection, through finding purpose in all we do, to encourage people to be who they are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Well, let's go. I want to go back. You're talking about like you notice dancers with burnout when they burn out, and with you doing so much, have you experienced burnout? Like,
I have, and that's
like how was that for you in your process, and like how'd you get out of that mindset?
So the reason I do self-care at the end of my leadership program is because that's the thing I'm the worst at for a lot of my leadership. You know what I mean? I pour into so many people. I pour into organizations. I pour into everyone else's events.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you gotta
take care of yourself too.
Yeah, right. I didn't necessarily. My cup ends up being empty. At times. So that is one of the things that for myself, I've learned in the more recent 5 years, is being okay with choosing yourself, and that's healing your inner child.
Yeah.
Saying that you're okay for everything you are. You don't have to be an expectation. You don't have to please people. You need to just be committed to being the best person you can be, and just embrace all of who you are, right? So I think going back to things I used to love, which is writing. I love writing, so I got back to journaling. I started therapy last year because I felt really sad for all the things going on in the world, and I'm like, I'm being triggered, I was really triggered with Black Lives Matters and some of these movements because of my personal trauma as a closeted gay person for a long time. Yeah. That when I see these BIPOC marginalized communities being oppressed and killed, I felt triggered, and I was like, why is that? Like, why am I so upset?
Yeah.
Why is it eating away at me? It's because it's triggering a part of me that was traumatized and that that was hurt a long time ago, by society, I guess. And I grew up through the 80s and 90s when the rhetoric of being gay was really terrible, right? I remember HIV/AIDS being the disease to wipe away the sins of the world. And that's like, wow, so it's okay for, a queer person to die, you know what I mean?
That's so crazy.
That being okay on talk shows and, You know what I mean?
Like they're trying to justify it.
And that's what we see now. People justifying racism. You know,
ridiculous
or such. So yeah, I started like realizing I need to invest in myself, take care of myself, and if I do that, then I'll have longevity in my ability to take care of people I love, to be in this dance world. And I'm just so much healthier now. I think anything that's youthful about me is because of the support system I have and the choices I made to finally take care of myself.
And that's why I asked that question too, is because you do so many things for others and you are happy and enjoying yourself, but like you're human too, so you obviously have your bad days and your burnouts. So like everyone goes through that, and everyone just should know like you can push through if you have the support system and all that. So
and it's also okay to create your exit plan, right? Because there are things sometimes you start and pour your heart into, and then you're starting to realize, oh, there's enough leaders to now take the mantle, and you're being called to something else, right? So that's why I feel like I'm creating my global exit plan by investing in leaders, because I've invested in leaders for the next couple of years. I'll be able to move into the next chapter of my life of being married and having kids,
of course,
with much more peace, because there are all these amazing humans and I call them love warriors, who are out there ready to take the mantle and create the change now and be the agents of change on the ground. You know, and I can support when I can. So my investment will be now. And then they will take them out.
I mean, you're literally creating like a legacy, because everything that you're imparting onto these leaders around the world is just going to keep moving down and keep moving down and keep moving down. And that's
thank you for mentioning that. It's so interesting as you get older in life how much like more legacy means to you. You know what I mean? Because you start thinking as you're losing, you know, relatives or people, you know, passing away, you really think about like, what's your mark on the world? What do you want to leave behind?
Definitely.
You know? And those are things I think about all the time. Is legacy, you know, am I being a good human? Am I living my purpose?
Of course.
You know, those kind of things.
Of course.
Yeah, legacy is important.
Yeah, and I think with that, and like you said, like slow down and stuff, like for some reason, like at a young age, like even at 18, like I was thinking about like, what do I want to do? Like, even though I'm so young, it's like maybe I know now, like I need to take a step back and not still think about that, but not go into everything with that mentality. Kind of just do what makes me happy, and
you have to give yourself grace. That there are times to pause, rest, or just figure yourself out or reflect.
Definitely.
And that life really is like the balance of making things happen and letting things happen. There are times you have to dive in there, do the work, grow, learn, unlearn, and make things happen. And there are things you have to like. It's okay to take a step back, you know, and let things also unfold as they're meant to be.
Gotcha.
You know,
I want to go back with the occupational therapy and like dance. What was the moment like that switched for you that you were like, okay, I can do both? Do you remember was there a moment, or was there like?
I learned it I learned it actually in Culture Shock, because in Culture Shock LA, you're dealing with all people from different parts of their lives. Some people are already parents. There's some people full-time workers, industry dancers, community builders, you know, worldwide dance educators. And so when you're mixed with a bunch of people that are finding the right combination for yourself, I was like, I could do that too. And I'm encouraging them to do that. Why can't I encourage myself to do that? You know? So that's why I do I just have so much love for Culture Shock, LA specifically. Because I learned that there. I learned it for myself, and I learned it from the people around me, and I noticed I was preaching it to other people, so I have to also live what I preach.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, and then with Culture Shock, how did you even get involved with Culture Shock, and then even becoming like president of Culture Shock and all that?
That's a journey too. Like, because after Cabo Modern, I already realized I didn't really want to compete anymore. I did that, and it was fun, but I wanted to go back to my community outreach roots. So I started taking class at Culture Shock San Diego. That's where I met Anna Sarau and Jasmine Jenkins and Sammy and Julie, like all these people that I was like, they are the dancer, they are the shit, like, basically. And at the time too, that they were Culture Shock was the Nike hip hop dancers. They were I was sponsored by Nike at some point through Culture Shock.
No way. I didn't even know that about Culture Shock.
Yeah, Angie Bunch was love Angie too.
Angie, I love Angie.
She was the bridge builder between the fitness world and the dance world, and then she connected Culture Shock through to Nike.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know
and then, so back in the day, we had full fits.
Of
Every
Nike.
season, they would just throw a bag at us, a trash bag with outfits and shoes, and
You're like, take it.
You're like, dang, I'm a Nike hip hop
Yeah.
dancer.
That's crazy. I didn't even know Nike did that.
Yeah, so I started taking class with that as my goal because Culture Shock San Diego was the goal.
Okay.
Because there were only 2 exhibition groups at the time that I really loved. It was them and then later on the Groovaloos.
Oh.
Right? And the 2 of them were like, that's it. And so I was in Irvine still finishing up my 5 year and a quarter bachelor's degree. And, you know, I always joke around that I started off as a bio major and then I ended up as a Kaba Modern major.
Kaba Modern major. Yeah. Makes sense.
It took a little bit longer, but I got there, Mom.
Yeah.
But I went to Culture Shock. I was training there, and then when I moved to LA, I auditioned for Culture Shock LA, and Culture Shock LA also had bomb dancers. They were so good, but it was dominated by a lot of industry dancers who I felt like were only doing it because they wanted the Nike gear and the notoriety of being a Nike dancer. So we would have like 3 auditions a year because the turnover was crazy.
Oh, when like they leave?
They would leave.
Oh,
they would
wow.
stay for a season, get their Nike gear, do some carnival performances.
And then just bounce.
And then bounce.
Whoa.
And then I was like, this doesn't feel like Culture Shock San Diego.
It
doesn't feel like the community, the mission statement that we're supposed to, respect,
respect
dignity, self-worth, and respect for all people. I was like, that doesn't feel like it. So I actually, at a certain point, left Culture Shock because I was in my master's, my OT master's program. I was like, I'm just going to graduate and do my doctorate degree and take a break. But as soon as I graduated, the director of Culture Shock LA called me back and said, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm moving back to New York, and we would love to just offer you the executive directorship.
Whoa.
And I was like, okay.
That's new.
And I said, I will only do it if I can rewrite the bylaws, pick my own co-directors.
Nice.
And so I picked Tiffany Bong, Ira, Allison Tanaka, Dennis Kaindeck, my homie Dave Magno, basically all superstars in their own arenas.
Yep.
So we had 2 marketing directors, an admin director, a youth program director, which was Tiff, and an artistic director. And I felt like the combination of those with my skills would be the dream team to allow me to feel like I could do this. Because I feel like when you have such a big endeavor of creating radical change, it's so hard to do it by yourself.
For sure. You need, definitely.
Right? Like I can, like all the people we mentioned, Zahra, Danielle, they all know it takes a tribe.
Yeah, it definitely
takes a village, right?
For sure.
So when I took over Culture Shock LA, that's where I just said, hey, this doesn't exist. Let's do benefit show. Hey, let's do that.
Yeah.
I felt because I had
Pitch
my dream
everything.
team, I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
Right? I had my
Support
people, my
system.
support. And if we made mistakes, we hold each other accountable. We learn from it and we create solutions.
Yeah.
And anyone who was of that era, which you were and your family were a part of, there's always mistakes. There's always like, oh, we need to fix this because, it's new.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about Culture Shock LA is we didn't fear making mistakes. We were like, it's going to happen as part of the journey, but we're such good humans. We're going to fix it and we're going to make it better. We're going to learn from those mistakes, turn them into lessons, and then we're going to live the lessons through to these new things. And then I realized that you can't be a nonprofit and not have a board of directors. That's like non-501c3 basics.
You need that.
So like we need that. So I decided to co-direct with Michelle Costello for a year so I could have an exit plan and then jump over to board president for Culture Shock LA.
Oh, nice.
Did that for a couple of years. Then I wrote into the bylaws of the board of directors that you can only serve for 10 years. Not thinking 10 years would go by like this.
So fast.
And then I actually hit 11 years and they're like, yo, you out-termed yourself.
Outturned yourself.
You need to
'cause
move somewhere
breaking
else.
your own rules.
Breaking your own rules. Wow, I didn't even know
And-
that. So currently, obviously, you're not.
Well, then Angie Bunch was like, we need an international board of directors.
And
I want you to be the president of Culture Shock International. And I was hesitant because, I really loved everything we built with Culture Shock LA.
Yeah.
But I also love Angie and I love all the other troops.
Yeah.
So So I said, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
and I'm still there.
Awesome.
But I think, I'm also investing in a lot of leaders to be the future of that too.
Passing the mantle.
Because I want to pass the torch and eventually, I think I would be really happy making sure Culture Shock International is okay. And I'll probably eventually return to Culture Shock LA, not as a officer, just on the board of directors, just to be there back at home, my home ground.
My mom is always telling me, go back to Culture Shock, go back to
Oh
Culture
yeah,
Shock. We've had
my ultimate vision are there are stars from all the youth troops, you later on, and my goddaughter Angelia, Daniel Nicholas, all these amazing,
oh my God, Daniel,
people that I feel like I hope they will come back and be the future generation, because we have a lot of good, hella talented humans out there that are doing amazing things and will be the next generation of change makers. And that's why I want to go back to the board eventually, is because I do believe that day is going to come, and I want to be there to witness that.
If you come back, Arnel, if you come back, I will be there 1,000%.
Okay.
We'll
witnesses.
It's on the internet. It's on the internet.
It is documented.
It's on the
If
internet.
Arnel goes
That
back,
would make Allison and
Allison,
so
oh my
happy.
God. If you go back,
Yeah.
I will be back. I will
be back for sure. At a certain point, for sure.
Yeah, because like you said, my parents were really involved too with Culture Shock. So.
They were a part of the growth.
Yeah, no,
they were
for sure.
also star parents that were really involved and were the role models of what good parents could be for their kids. Oh, we also had some challenging parents.
Oh, we know.
It's always there too.
Yeah, we know.
But that's an example of when you do it right, you attract the right people.
For sure.
And with youth programs, it's for a chapter. We know you invest in these kids, and then you also set them free because they need to be encouraged on their unique journey.
Definitely.
But there's always that little part of you in the back of your mind, I hope they will eventually fly back.
Oh yeah. Oh, my mom's always whispering in my ear, "You gotta go back. When are you gonna go back? You gotta go back."
And the dancers and the humans that are in Culture Shock LA right now are still top notch.
Oh yeah,
they're so good.
Yeah,
still.
every performance, me and my mom are still amazed. Every performance, still.
And it's because of good leaders like
Definitely.
David Lee and Sonia, Alice, and all of them that are there. And I see generations to come.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm excited.
When you first became president, I don't think I've told you this, but Culture Shock has Culture Shock everywhere, like Culture Shock Oakland, Culture Shock
International.
It was wide range. But when you were when you were director and first joined, how many were there, and then how many expanded when you joined?
Yeah, we used to be all over Europe too.
Yeah.
But actually, over the years, it's been harder for nonprofits to survive. So there's actually right now we have Oakland, Vegas, Chicago. San Diego, of course, the original,
the
LA, and then we have also our Canadian ones, Ottawa and Toronto. Yeah. So those are the ones that we have for now. But there are some cities that are inquiring that are in development. So, and I can't mention them here. That we're really excited about those new cities.
Amazing.
And I really hope even in Canada and Europe it'll expand again.
Amazing.
The main thing is finding the right leaders, because to open up these chapters, we have to have high standards for the leaders who are going to be cultivating that community.
100%.
And we have to also protect the kids, because we also know there's been instances of harmful leaders out there.
Yep.
And so we need to really vet them.
Yeah.
That the leaders of these new culture shocks will be aligned with the quality of humans that have kind of steered the way so far.
Definitely.
So we'll see.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Well, we're excited to see that. Well, I want to expand. So after Culture Shock and President, you became part of Kinjas, which I've trained before they were Kinjas.
Yes, you're like Anthony Lee's. One of Anthony Lee. So many people. Yeah.
But what is your position specifically
in Kinjas?
In Kinjas.
So it's interesting because Anthony Lee and Mike Song, the co-founders of Kinjas, were my little brothers.
Yes.
Since I've known Mike forever, since he was a young dancer in Cabo Modern, and I knew Anthony while he was on CADC, and we used to have these brother lunches. And so I remember them talking about their hopes and dreams, and Kinjas was one of those dreams that they had. And so it's cool to have been in conversation with them before, to see them create it and birth it, and then be invited to come back as just a member, where I can just have no responsibilities and just
be part of.
enjoy being one of the kin, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But over time, as we developed like arena, especially like arena dance camp and things like that, like anything involving community, I kind of had my hands in.
Yeah, like you were like the manager in that part. I heard.
And of course through the TV shows too, because I managed Cabo Modern, Fanny Pack, and Beat Freaks on ABDC.
Yes.
When Kinjas was invited to be like the wild card on ABDC, I helped out with that.
Yeah.
You know, and then also NBC World of Dance.
World of Dance.
They did that too, because it's a tricky. Television is tricky.
Yeah.
It's as you know,
it's a whole different.
It's a whole different
monster.
World.
Yep.
We really have to, when you go on those things,
especially for dancers.
Yeah, for dancers, it's like all of the shows are different, and they all have their challenges, unique challenges, and even different generations of ABDC had different challenges in each different generation. But over time, you have to be really skilled at taking care of each other, understanding what you're gonna do with each episode, because this is reality television straight up, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, hey.
It's reality television, so you can't control the outcome, but you can control how you present yourself on these shows, the messages that you're saying on these shows, and what you're accomplishing by just taking up space on these shows.
Yeah.
So before Cabo Modern being on ABDC, I didn't see a single Asian on television in dance. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they are out there. There's much wild diversity out there, right? So I'm glad that I was part of that movement to just expand the identity and face of dance, and also expand Asian stereotypes beyond the typical stereotypes of nerd and martial artist. That they can be so many other brilliant things that every good human could be.
Definitely.
Right? To be part of that movement, and many people have come before me and after me to push that, and I feel like we have a much expanded view on, you know what, and this is perfect because this will probably come out after, but this is AAPI Heritage Month, right?
Of course.
But we've expanded that, you know, through, and so those 100%. Are the things you can do on a television show. You won't be able to control the outcome, but maybe by doing well on a TV show, and also trying to be sharing the good human that you are, because all 6 of the people on Cabo Modern that were on that are good people. That's why we picked them. They're good humans.
Mike Song.
Yeah, Mike Song, Cindy, Yuri, Lawrence, Tony, right? Ja. They're all good humans that were leaders in Cabo Modern, different generations. And my goal was just to show that to expand what Asians can do. And also to show that you can also achieve visibility and still be a good person. And that stereotype of crab mentality where you have to like be so competitive and evil to people to climb your way to the top is not true. The actual truth is that business is built on relations, and you may achieve short-term spot glimmers of success, but your ability to sustain success is built on how you are as a person. Because people will want to work with you if you're a fucking good person, and if you're a fucking bad human with talent, you will have this limelight for a chapter of time, but that is not long lasting. You've seen people crash and burn.
We literally said that. How many episodes? Every episode, almost. Exactly. Like it is just being a good person. Like
it is.
Like the talent will come, everything will come, but
because talent's a dime a dozen. So if you think you can be an asshole and have talent and you're gonna like take up space for a long time, no, someone's gonna want to work with someone that's more of a pleasure to work with. And then people, when they get into that position of power as a choreographer, they're gonna choose people that they enjoy working with.
Facts. Couldn't have said it any better.
Right?
Yep.
So
well, with that, we kind of talked about it with what you're doing right now, but like, what is the goal for Mr. Arnel, like in the future, like? Because I know you're working on the leadership program, but like, do you have any other like dance goals or even goals in life in general? Like,
well, life goals, you know, shout out to my fiance, Dustin.
Yeah. I still need to meet him.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's just having that kind of love and support has just been definitely life-changing.
Amazing.
So I'm excited to be married.
Amazing.
One day be a father.
Yes.
You know, I'll be an Anderson Cooper. I'll be an older, but, you know, capable.
father.
Father and husband.
Exactly. Oh my God, that's
Um,
amazing.
And right now I'm a dog daddy because I have
Dog
Kenobi.
daddy. Yes.
My Kenobi.
His name's Kenobi.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and her name is Kenobi, actually.
Oh, her name.
Oh,
Her
but still,
name is Kenobi because Kenobi is obviously a Jedi line, family. And it could be a guy or a girl, right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
her name is Kenobi.
That's amazing.
So I want to be
That's
the
pretty
best dog dad possible.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Right?
Yes.
So that's like my personal goals. And then I definitely, dance has changed. So dance will always be in your life, but your relationship to dance may change over your lifetime. So I don't really have as much desire to perform.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, do
know,
you still get on stage? Do you still
I
dance?
He
will
still
only-
gets. This man gets down.
I will do a cameo for like if it's a special occasion
Yeah,
or
special
for
performance.
special people,
benefit
nostalgia, like like a milestone anniversary or something. But most of the
But
time,
don't let him fool you though. Homie gets down like nothing. Like,
I still try to hold my own.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy more teaching, so I love teaching workshops because I love again the communal aspect of it.
Yeah.
I'm committed to still doing my leadership program. That's something that still excites me.
Yeah.
So leadership program, Roots Before Branches. There are community leaders out there like Tash, John Bart, and other people out there, Tiffany Bong, other people doing amazing things that I would love to just create new things out there too with them, separate from any organization, just
Definitely.
with people I love and respect.
Definitely.
So new offerings to the community, new events and things
Sick.
like that. And then dance for me too has gone back. So the art forms I'm low key, again now back in my room in my house. That during
Freestyling.
quarantine, because it's interesting. Like when you're trapped in your quarantine space, you have to try to find dance in that space.
Yeah.
So it was hard to access locking because I didn't feel the joy of the funk and soul of locking during pandemic because it was so hard.
Yeah.
We were processing so many things. But I found house because of the freedom and the connection to music and people of house so I've been kind of doing house on my own, labbing with some people, and light feet.
Oh my God, light
Because
feet.
I love 80s, 90s party dancing. And so the hypeness of light feet is a natural connection to me because I love 80s, 90s party dancing. That's like
Gotcha.
my jam.
Yeah,
you know?
that's you. That's
So those are kind of my personal, just for me thing, not to perform, but just to study and learn and
definitely.
practice on my own. So I've been doing like privates and
being a student again.
being a student. I'm always be a student.
Yeah.
Lifelong.
Lifelong student.
And I love it. I embrace that.
Yeah.
So dance for me now is just exploration, connection to my own healing and my own support,
Definitely.
and my own celebration, and then of course I'll always be doing locking and 80s 90s party hip hop dancing because that's just
my
my childhood. That's
Yeah.
my journey. So
Yeah.
that's it for me for dance and life for now.
I want to know personally. You got all these things going on, but what do you like to do on your free time? We talked about Star Wars. You like
Hell yeah, Star
so-
Wars. Yes.
you like watching shows, movies, like.
I love anything Star Wars. I'm a
Okay,
Star Wars
beautiful.
nerd.
Well, welcome to the
Yeah,
club. All
right.
of us are.
Kenobi is
My
coming
dad
out.
got the shirt on right now.
I know when I
already.
saw that, I was like, I have that shirt. When I saw it, I was like, I knew we were a fan for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. I love movies in general. I've always loved movies. That's why I also appreciate concept videos like the work that you do too, because I love the art of cinema and storytelling and all of those things. So movies are always and I love documentaries, although sometimes it sends me on a spiral.
Oh
you know?
my God, yeah.
And it's
Especially
like-
on Netflix, because Netflix always got the documentaries.
You got all this awareness, but
Yeah.
like, dang,
What's the most recent movie or documentary you've seen that was like, oh my God?
I watched the documentary that sent me on a spiral was Seaspiracy. It was about fish fishing.
It's about
Fishing?
fishing.
And then like I love fish, you know what I
Okay.
mean? So Dustin and I watched it and we're like, oh my God, I'm gonna stop buying salmon at Costco. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's one documentary I
Okay.
watched. But I also love things like lighter that are like what's the Fab Five?
A Queer Eye?
Queer Eye. I love Queer Eye, where good, I mean the second generation of Queer Eye. The first generation was cool, but this second generation, I just feel the heart of them.
Yeah.
I feel like they really love what they do, and I love that they go into places where queer people are probably rejected or feared, and create change in those spaces.
Such a good show.
I love that. I love things that also inspire hope. So and I mean, don't get me wrong, I also have my shameless TV, like Blind Date.
Okay.
I watched you know what I really also love is Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I love
really
autistic children, autistic people, and I love that show.
They just came out the second season, or they're coming. I think the trailer dropped.
I think they had the Australian first season and second season, which was dope. And then they just dropped on Netflix the US first
one.
season, which I did binge watch
already
last week.
One night, one day.
2 days.
Okay, 2 days.
I utilized my lunch break.
Have you seen? I feel like you have. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
That's on the list.
Ooh.
That's on the list. I know I'm gonna love it because I love Michelle Yeoh.
I
love her as an activist and a human being, so I know I'm gonna love her.
She's
in what she calls the role of her life.
Bring tissues. That's all. That's all we'll say. Like me, him, and our PA Milad watched it, and it broke. Like Milad didn't speak a word after we got out.
Don't you love movies like that? You're just like, damn. I just gotta let that settle in. You know,
for us. I'm not gonna hype it up too much, but
no. We've seen a lot of movies.
We've seen a lot of movies. Like, you know me too.
Yes,
I love movies. And same as my man Brand. I'm gonna hype it up. He's also a director, and he went to OSHA for film with me.
OSHA's the shit, right? It definitely has produced so many amazing.
The best movie we have ever seen in our entire lives.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think there's gonna be a better movie this year too. Like,
so she's basically gonna win the Oscar.
I hope so.
See, I don't think so.
I think he's wrong.
I think the movie is gonna. It's gonna not get any recognition.
Oh no!
I think that's what's gonna happen
because it's like low budget too, and it's A24, and like they didn't have a lot of screenings. Like
if it gets any recognition, I think it'll be her, and I think she'll get a nom or she'll win.
For
but
Best Actress?
But I don't think the movie will get little to none.
You're right, the politics of it all.
I think, but I think it's so ridiculous.
I disagree. I think it should. I'm just saying.
You're just saying because the politics.
That's what I think is gonna happen.
The politics.
Yeah.
Well, that's also why that's one of the things I would love to see in general is if there are spaces that don't celebrate the vast brilliance in the world, then maybe we need to create things that do celebrate it. Right?
I hope I'm wrong.
So
I hope I'm wrong.
If the Academy can't get their shit together,
let's make our own Academy. Let's make our own
these smaller budget thing. Then there's got to be other offerings in other spaces where they are. I know from what I'm hearing that she and the movie will be celebrated one way or the other.
No, it's one of her, I think, best roles for sure. She even says that too, and she said, I was watching an interview, she even said when she read it she cried because it was the first time a person gave this script where she's able to show what she's capable of.
That she's also funny
and she said she knows she's gonna make her family proud, her friends proud. She says she cried because of that. She said of course the story, but she said this is the role for her, that's
the role of her life.
And I think it's absolutely correct. So
I love that.
I know we're hyping it so much, but it's so
go watch it.
You need
go watch it,
and you need to watch. I think you need to watch it in theaters.
Yeah, I want to celebrate it in theaters because I feel like especially for smaller films, they need the revenue
for sure.
So that they can get to the next level, whether they want to stream on Netflix or whatnot. We have to support them from the grassroots. For
sure. And the directors are amazing. The duo, the Daniels. Their first feature film was Swiss Army Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was their first one ever. They used to do, it's kind of inspiring because that's what me and Brandon do, but they came up doing music videos and all that. Wow. And then they got an offer from A24 to do Swiss Army Man, which was the Daniel Radcliffe movie. And then from there, and then they made Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it's kind of, but they're amazing. This movie is incredible.
Yeah, that goes to show you got to hold on to your vision, right? Because they're going to be ups and downs. Yeah. You don't know where the ship is gonna go, but you just need to keep going, through all the ebbs and flows.
And with that being said, I think this is one of the top episodes for me personally. I loved it. I love you, Arnel. Again.
Thank you so much for coming on, taking time.
It really
pleasure to be here.
It really means a lot, especially you being here and saying yes to 22-year-olds and just having a conversation is amazing.
I really feel like we need to definitely also dispel that, right? People of all ages have something to offer the world.
Definitely.
right? So if it's done in a way, a place of intention and integrity, we got to support it.
Definitely, and I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
again, thank you again for coming on. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, you want to shout out your tags?
Yeah, I mean, definitely my organizations, Kinjas, Culture Shock, or Kaba Modern, they all have their socials and they all have their websites too.
It'll be in the description on YouTube.
But for me personally, it's just, I'm so boring. My Instagram is just Arnel Calvario.
The legend.
And that's the easiest way to reach me, actually. I do, people reach out to me there on just Instagram Messenger or reach out to me there. And then my email is arnel@kinjas.com.
There it is. You heard it here
Amazing.
first. And part 2, I know that part 2.
We got a lot of part 2s that we got to do.
Yeah, we got a lot of part 2s, but for sure we would love to have you on again. But yeah, that is the
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, and we'll see you next Monday. Just do the damn thing. Peace out. Yeah.